social worker.
You have roller seats and air conditioning. There's only one place to choose from the complete selection of award-winning minivans. Your Chrysler and Plymouth dealer. Now get up to 1,000 cash allowance on select Chrysler and Plymouth minivans.
Richard Dean Anderson and Deborah Cox on Live. They're going to hit us?
He's coming straight for us.
Whether it's the terror of a twister,
Look at this.
a river running wild,
But even though it's just stuff, this is my whole life.
a blinding blizzard,
What are we supposed to do?
or a wildfire.
I didn't cry yet, but I know I will.
Nature can be beautiful, but deadly. Tonight, a Dateline special, Nature's Wrath. It is not only North America's tallest peak, but a place so cold, so windy, so deadly, that it has left human beings literally flash frozen. Tonight, the incredible tale of a plane crash and 4 men stranded high on Alaska's Mount McKinley.
Man, this stuff you read about just don't happen to people.
Desperate, injured, ill-equipped to take on the mountain in winter. How long could they hold on?
I so clung to the vision of getting off that mountain and having the opportunity to meet my unborn child.
That's what kept you going.
That is a big part of what kept me personally going.
And who could get them down?
You knew that the weather was so bad there was nobody else that was going to fly up there, right?
Yeah.
There was no one else that could do it.
John Larson with a story you won't forget. A fight for survival in the dead of winter. They are nature's most awesome display of strength. Deadly, unpredictable, striking with very little notice.
Our best defense against tornadoes is understanding them.
To understand them, scientists try to recreate them.
We're now at 100 miles an hour. Woo! I can hardly hear myself talk.
What does it feel like to put yourself in the most forceful winds you can imagine? Len Cannon gets blown away by the power of a twister. A sudden storm, a raging river, a wall of water floods the region in a flash. 4 men are called to fight the current on a rescue mission that would prove deadly to one of them.
It was the most terrifying experience I've had in my life.
Frederica Whitfield, rescue on the River Wild. Tonight, a Dateline special, Nature's Wrath. From Studio 3B in Rockefeller Center, here is Jane Pauley.
Good evening. Tonight, a Nature's Wrath special. We begin with a story that started out as a routine rescue. But what was to happen reminds us that no rescue mission is ever routine. 4 men called to duty late one night to save a community threatened by flash floods. A fast-moving river had overflown its banks, sweeping away everything in its path. And the danger these men would face, like the river's current itself, was swift and deep. Frederica Whitfield with the story of 4 ordinary men caught in the extraordinary power of nature's wrath.
It was a day of bad weather across the country last January. Ice, snow, and flooding. But nowhere was the flooding as bad as in Carter County, Tennessee.
Flash flood watch in effect for much of Kentucky, East Tennessee.
Nestled along the western slopes of the Smoky Mountains, Carter County was inundated by over 7 inches of rain in just over 3 hours. The normally placid 3-foot-deep Doe River was pushed to overflowing.
I was getting ready to go to bed, and that evening, and the phone rang, and it was a squad here, and they said, we was being called out to Carter County for assistance.
It's times like these when rescuers, mostly volunteers, risk their own lives to help others. Jim Carter, a firefighter. Alan Lark, a student. Junior Godsey, a paramedic. And father-to-be, Chad Addington. 4 rescuers, 4 friends, all in it for the same reason.
I guess it's a challenge, and the helping people. That's a big thing.
But this time, nature would be the challenge, and the people they'd save, themselves. They say no amount of training could have prepared them for what they were about to face.
It was the most terrifying experience I've had in my life. We were all totally unprepared for what was going to happen.
Water from the overflowing Doe River had extended roughly 60 feet beyond its banks, threatening a small mobile home community.
Somebody came running up, so there's people trapped. It was a mobile home type area, so we responded to that location immediately.
By the time they launched their boat, 88 tons of water per second were moving downstream. It was a flash flood that would eventually kill 7 people, destroy 400 buildings, and cause $20 million in damage. Meteorologist Dave Dirk says it caught everyone by surprise.
They had never seen the water come up as fast and move as quickly as it did, and we had, especially in the higher elevations, upwards of a foot or more of snow, and combine that with 65-degree weather, that was melting very quickly, and then you add this fast rain that came in.
Once in their boat, the 4 rescuers began to realize just what they were up against. This was nothing like they had experienced. What began as a routine rescue had now dissolved into a survival test when the engine on their boat died.
It happened so fast, we were just sucked right down into the main channel of the river.
The 4 men in the boat were suddenly caught in a 4-foot wall of water, speeding downstream at nearly 40 miles per hour.
I think everybody in the boat had the feeling that we were going to die.
The river was too much. In an instant, 2 of the 4 men were tossed out of the boat and into the rapids.
I was thrown out of the boat. Chad was right behind me. I grabbed the first tree limb I could to hang on.
Within minutes, Alan managed to get to shore. But for Chad Addington, it wasn't so easy.
I tumbled end over end. It fell like a few times. I got pushed under the water a few times. I couldn't hear anything but the water rushing. It was getting up over my mouth, and it was starting to splash over my head. At that point, I knew I had to do something or I wasn't going to make it out. All I could think about was my wife at home. She's 6 months pregnant with our first child. I want to see that baby so bad. And I saw a branch up above me. It's the hardest thing I ever did in my life, pulling out of that current.
After battling the current for about a half a mile, Chad was out of trouble. Now, 2 rescuers were out of danger, but the other 2, Jim Carter and Junior Godsey, were still in the boat battling water, debris, and fatigue. They were carried even further downstream, another mile, when their boat slammed into a bridge.
At that point, the bottom came out of the boat.
You really don't have much recourse at this point. You're missing the bottom of the boat. You don't have a motor. You have no radios.
Yeah.
What do you have?
Life jacket. Ultimately, that's all we had left.
The boat was destroyed. The 2 men, now clinging to one another, were at the mercy of the river.
We got to going end over end in the water, so that broke us apart. And from that point, I never saw Junior again.
4 miles from their original launch point, 3.5 miles from where Chad and Alan were rescued, and 2.5 miles from the spot he and Junior fell into the water. Jim was now in this fight alone.
Jim Carter was powerless against a raging, rising river, a river so swollen it carried him through these woods and into this picnic area where he was eventually found.
At some point, the water just, like I said, became calm, and when it did, I rolled over and grabbed a tree.
It's where Jim held on until rescuers arrived minutes later. Jim was tired and cold. He had used most of his strength battling the current, the same current that now kept his rescuers at a distance, over 150 feet away.
This whole area in here was all covered with water. It was unbelievable, but I was trying to figure out ways, how are we going to get this guy back?
It would seem the hardest part was over. The rescuers had located Jim. But now, the problem facing Mike Raskey and the other rescuers was getting Jim out safely. The swollen river was still raging between them at more than 30 miles per hour. The rescuers decided they couldn't wait for the water to recede. They were worried that Jim was suffering from hypothermia, internal injuries, or might not have the strength to hang on. rescuer Mike Raskey.
We were going to have to use some type of lines to rescue him.
That line was a thin cord of rope, only a 1/16 of an inch thick. It was all the team had to bridge the more than 150 feet of swift-moving water.
That rope was the whole key. If we could have got it tied off here to this tree and then over on that bank, I had no doubt in my mind that we'd have him back in just a matter of minutes.
It sounded simple, but the team had to shoot that cord over half a football field away toward an exhausted and seemingly despondent Jim Carter. They needed the rope to land slightly upstream and beyond the tree Jim was holding on to. Too far and the rope would get caught in underbrush. Too short, the current would wash it away and out of Jim's reach. The first attempt.
The first one went high, and Jim couldn't get hold of it.
They reloaded. This time, a good shot. Now, it was up to Jim.
Jim was going to have to help rescue himself.
Jim had fluid in his lungs and was having trouble breathing, but he still needed to pull the line across the current so that the rescuers could ferry a boat to him.
Tried just every way possible getting that line over to Jim. Things kind of went downhill because our techniques we were using weren't working. We just couldn't work with what we had.
At this point, after struggling throughout the night, the water had receded. But instead of being glad, rescuers were worried. They saw Jim, seemingly disoriented, untie himself and let go of the tree. They yelled for him to retie himself.
Tie yourself back to the tree!
The rescuers felt they were running out of both time and options.
I just wanted him to hang on. I wasn't leaving without him, so I was going to try everything. Finally, I said, find me a helicopter that can lift.
Within an hour, a helicopter arrived, but still couldn't do anything until daylight.
Right at daybreak, they made 3 attempts.
The first 2 tries involved a rescuer in a basket, but the wind was too strong.
The wind started picking up. They had a hard time holding the helicopter steady.
Meantime, the clock was ticking. At the tree, Jim was worried about passing out. They had to do something fast.
There was a basketball court next to his location, and the pilot was going to try to set the helicopter down in that area.
That didn't work either. Too many trees.
Basically, after that, the only thing we had left was the Carter County team swimmers.
Were you getting frustrated that you're out there, they're on the other end, and you just want to get to some dry land and to some warmth?
Well, I knew they had to get somebody over there at that point. Somebody had to come over and tie that rope off.
It was their last desperate attempt. A single member of the rescue team lunged into the water trying to reach Jim. Even though the water had receded, the current was still strong. Another tense moment. The swimmer was pulled underwater and washed down the river. When he resurfaced, the safety line that was supposed to hold the rescuer was gone. He, too, was now in danger of being washed downstream. He had to swim against the current in an attempt to not only get to Jim, but to save his own life. It was a close call. Finally, he reached a weary Jim Carter and pulled across that rope and the rescue boat. After 5 hours, Jim and his rescuer were pulled back to shore.
When you all were able to pull Jim to safety, what did he tell you?
I'll never forget what he said to me. He looked up at me and held my hand and said, "Mikey, get me the hell out of here." I said, "You're on your way, partner."
Jim Carter made it. 3 of the 4 rescue team members in trouble that day made it out alive. But what had happened to the 4th man, Junior Godsey, the paramedic and volunteer rescuer, swept away? A full day after Jim Carter was rescued, Junior Godsey's body was found at this spot another mile down the river. All Jim Carter knows is that he is a lucky man.
I give credit to the good Lord for that, and I believe he had a purpose for me to stay here, or I wouldn't be here today.
Jim Carter is still on the rescue squad responding to emergency calls. And Chad Addington, the father-to-be, is now a father in full. And though he's still a volunteer, he says he's taming his lust for adventure to spend more time with his wife and daughter.
Coming up, it began as a sightseeing flight around Alaska's Mount McKinley. Then,
I could tell by the way the pass was coming up in the windshield that we weren't going to clear it.
a plane crash that left 4 men stranded high on one of the coldest, tallest mountains on Earth. Could they survive? And who could save them? Also, they strike without much warning.
Storms that we think won't produce anything very big at all turn out to produce very strong tornadoes.
What does it feel like to be caught in a violent tornado? When our Dateline special, Nature's Wrath, continues.
Toyota Sienna did better overall in Insurance Institute crash tests than any other vehicle tested, ever.
Do you want your parties to be really special? Try Rocher, the European speciality your guests will adore. Smooth chocolate, crunchy hazelnut, a luxurious taste sensation. It's more of a party with Rocher.
Is your dandruff sending the wrong signals? Get Selsun Power. Doctors recommend Selsun Blue #1. So don't send the wrong signals. Get Selsun Power.
I met this girl in Venice. She was like an angel. It was only one day. It was a day I wanted to remember forever. It was a day I didn't load the film right. Kodak Advantix cameras have easy drop-in film loading.
Monday, suddenly, Susan, you've got to see to believe. Susan's gorgeous, Jack's a hunk. Why are they living in a pile of junk? Their whole weekend's going wrong. Todd and Louie in a song.
You just can't get to hell fast enough.
It's enough to make Jack holler. Being all cooped up in squalor. Watch it Monday, it's all new. NBC Monday, suddenly, Susan.
From our studios in Rockefeller Center, here is Stone Phillips.
It's a place where winter never ends and one of the worst places on Earth to be stranded.
She rises 20,320 feet into the air, the highest peak in North America. On her slopes lie at least 34 bodies of those who could not escape her killer winds, her hidden crevices, her Arctic cold. Tonight, the story of a plane crash and the men who found themselves stuck on Mount McKinley.
We weren't going to make it another 24 or another 36 hours up there.
How many survivors could hold on until a band of rescuers could reach them?
There was no one else that could do it.
The story coming up on Dateline.
Good financial decisions require expertise. Life needs flexibility. Success demands leadership. If there's something you want to achieve, the principal has one word of advice. Plan ahead, get ahead. The Principal Financial Group.
The luxurious Nissan Maxima has one of the 10 best engines in America. Something which may come in handy, say, if you're ever late for a flight.
Now lease a Maxima GXC for just $299 a month for 39 months with $18.99 initial payment.
Whoa,
remember this place and those midnight snacks?
Indeed. Let's have 2 dogs with the works.
Hey, I can't have one of those now. Watching your figure? No, I didn't take my Pepsid AC, and it's too late now.
Didn't take your Pepsi? Take my Tagamet.
You can eat now.
Tagamet introduces a better way to avoid heartburn. Not an hour before, like Pepsid says. Now. Now you can take Tagamet right when you're going to eat and still prevent heartburn.
Mindy?
You two, back again?
Mindy! With Tagamet, you can eat like a kid again.
Check, stripes, or florals. One comforter complements them all. Because the JCPenney Home Collection gives you an almost endless combination of colorful styles and patterns that go together for a look that shows your own personal style. For both the bed and bath. The JCPenney Home Collection in store and catalog. It's so you.
JCPenney, I love your style.
Hurry in now for big savings during the JCPenney Home Sale.
An NBC Sunday movie event. Next at 8:30.
You can't explain it. You can't predict it.
The powerful blockbuster touches down on NBC.
Right.
Plus, all night long, real footage of the most spectacular twisters ever caught on tape. Beginning next at 8:30. Twister. 8:30 tonight as NBC Survival Sunday continues next.
What's your idea of a death trap? A place so hostile and so dangerous, without help, you'd never get out alive, or get down alive, in the case you're about to see. Did you read the book Into Thin Air? It was about the 1996 disaster on Mount Everest, where 8 climbers died during a ferocious storm. Well, tonight we're going to take you to another of the world's highest peaks, where temperatures have been measured as low as 96 below zero, and winds clocked at 138 miles per hour. But our story is not about climbers who choose to put their lives at risk. It's about some ordinary people who found themselves marooned on a mountain where they were never meant to be. Here's John Larson.
To the Native Americans who knew her first, she was Denali, the High One, the Great One. White men rechristened the mountain McKinley. By either name, breathtakingly beautiful, but at times, possibly the coldest killer on Earth.
How bad can it get? As bad as you can imagine.
4 men would discover just how bad that could be on a journey from the heights of North America's tallest peak to the depths of human misery. Theirs is the story of a plane crash that put their lives in peril, and the unlikely band of heroes who set out to save them.
You don't know what the odds are for these guys. You know, they got hours, maybe days, whatever, but you don't know.
It would become a 17-year struggle with a mountain that would never let go, even pulling one man back to risk his life again. And it all began here, the rough-and-tumble Alaskan village of Talkeetna. This is where an avid skier and mountain climber named Ed Homer followed his dreams in 1980. After a stint in the 82nd Airborne, jumping out of planes, Ed was ready to begin flying them as an Alaskan bush pilot.
How many people realize that a childhood dream, a goal, and it's everything that they imagined it would be and more?
It was seat-of-the-pants flying, one day dancing among McKinley's peaks, the next delivering supplies to the bush. And with a new bride, a baby on the way, and a job he loved, Ed had the world by the tail.
Ed Homer flew people into places like this, base camp, where mountain climbers come to test themselves on McKinley. But not on December 15th, 1981. On this day, he was hired for what's called a flight seeing tour, a comfortable tourist ride, a chance for people to get a sense of the majesty of the mountain without having to feel its might.
It was a perfect day and beautiful day for flying around the mountain up there, getting some really good views.
As McKinley waited in the distance, Ed and his passengers gathered at the Talkeetna airport early that afternoon. His brother-in-law, Dan Hartman, had decided to come along. And to fill out the 4 seats in the Cessna, 2 men who had been in Alaska only a week. Pat Scanlon, who just moved from the flatlands of Indiana, along with his friend, Mike Klauser.
Ed called that morning and said it'd be a good day to take a flight. You guys want to go?
Were you at all worried about the flight?
I'd always had a fear of small planes, but beyond that, no.
Weather looked pretty good?
It didn't look all that bad to me. I'm not a meteorologist.
If he had been, he might have noticed storm clouds building to the west of the mountain. It was no reason to cancel the flight, but it would soon grow into one of Alaska's infamous, unpredictable winter storms. The flight was to last less than 2 hours, plenty of time to make it back before the sun would set and mark the start of another long Arctic night.
You've flown this route dozens of times.
Many times, many times before.
So all systems were go.
Yeah, everything was fine. It's just no day in paradise is the way it started.
They were on their way, gliding toward the Alaska Range, one of the most beautifully forbidding places on Earth. Dan, the brother-in-law, and Pat, the newcomer from Indiana, were in the back seat. Mike was in the front next to Ed, snapping photographs as quickly as he could.
You ever seen anything that beautiful in your life?
No, it's beyond my vocabulary to describe it.
Glaciers, ice falls, crevasse fields, and above it all, a sea of frozen peaks.
I think for the most part, anybody who went up there for the first time was really somewhat taken back by the silent power of the place.
Soon, they were approaching a notorious gap in the mountain, known as One-Shot Pass.
I asked him why they called it that. So you go too low, you don't get a second chance.
It's exciting.
It was real exciting. It was almost like you could reach out and touch the cliffs out there.
Within minutes, they were inside the natural cathedral of snow and ice that is McKinley, weaving their way 43 miles up the Kahiltna Glacier towards another high pass on McKinley's slopes. But then, something went wrong.
As we approached the pass, it got bumpy. We lost a couple 300 feet of altitude.
High winds were taking him down, a downdraft, in pilot's lingo, a sinker. And despite Ed's every move, the plane was dropping fast.
In layman's terms, you got the throttle wide open.
We're at full power.
And you're trying to climb.
And the airplane was still going down at, like a couple thousand feet a minute. I could tell by the way the pass was coming up in the windshield that we weren't going to clear it.
Mike, not realizing the danger they were all in, was still focused on his photography.
I was just busy taking pictures, I had no idea we were going down.
In fact, these are the very pictures Mike was taking as the plane approached the pass.
Did you have time to yell anything to any of the guys?
I remember yelling to him, just shouting something out that we were going to hit. We're going to hit.
Seconds later came impact.
I kind of remember the bounce. For some reason, it's kind of strange, but my vision went orange. I just remember the color orange.
What was your first recollection after the crash?
Coming to and realizing what had happened.
Tell me, where are you? What are you thinking?
We're on the side of a mountain. I think we're in deep doo-doo.
4 men stranded nearly 11,000 feet up on the snow-covered slopes of America's tallest, coldest mountain. A storm headed their way. They would soon learn why few dared to test McKinley in the dead of winter.
The fight for survival begins when we come back.
Monday, Saddam Blake's America Doesn't Strike. We've been through this before. Will this game of cat and mouse ever end? All the late-breaking details.
And the prescription drug crisis. You can't live without them, but why do they cost so much? Your health or your money? Impossible choices. A special nightly news Wall Street Journal series, only on NBC Nightly News Monday.
Your new car is out there. Somewhere. Only now with GM BiPower, all you have to do is go online or on the phone to find it. Explore all your options. Find the right price. See how it compares to what your friends are driving. And once you feel like you've finished your homework, schedule a test drive. We'll have the car or truck you've been looking for ready and waiting at a nearby dealer. GM BiPower. Things just got easier.
Good taste is within
taking on the season. Let's walk your attraction store.
Dateline NBC, winner of 9 National Headliner Awards, more than any other news magazine. The year's most honored news magazine, Dateline, will be right back.
Imagine if 10 minutes of blow drying left your hair in better condition. If 200 degrees of pure heat left your hair healthier. It's true. Healthy hair can come from heat. Heat-activated Thermosilk shampoos and conditioners have a unique protein formula turned on by heat to do more than protect, to actually improve your hair's condition. It's not your imagination. It's Thermosilk. Where there's heat, there's healthy hair.
We were on vacation in New Orleans. Great city. But every night, I got this awful heartburn. A woman in our tour group said, "Here, try Zantac 75. "Oh, thank you," I said. "You're a saint." She said, "No, actually, I'm a doctor."
The medicine in Zantac 75 is the #1 doctor-prescribed acid reducer. It relieves even your toughest heartburn, controlling acid for up to 12 hours.
Maybe a doctor and a saint.
Zantac 75, the final word in heartburn relief.
Do rich people have more friends than the rest of us? Are they more deserving of a comfortable seat? Are they more entitled to brake safely on a rainy day? Are we the only car company that doesn't think so? Century by Buick, full of amenities for under $20,000. And now Century's an even better value. Save over $2,200 with 1.9% APR financing on every 99. Century by Buick, a luxury car for everyone.
You know how much a pizza costs? About $10. In a month, if you get 3, it's $30. The same cost, roughly less. You can own a computer. The iMac is less than $30 a month. Can you imagine? For the same cost as 3 pizzas, you own a computer. Now you're on the internet. Now you're emailing everybody in the world. You're playing the greatest games. You're empowered. Your vision is expanded. You're collaborating with people. It changes your life in a million ways. So budget yourself. Skip the pizzas and get the computer. Hot, fresh, out of the box. Even, put anchovies on it if you want.
Mad About You goes Hollywood, massage, hot tubs, and Paul takes a meeting California style.
Well, trip to L.A. has been an eye-opener. Hey, how are you, mister?
All new NBC Tuesday. Tuesday, it's 2 all-new Just Shoot Me's with twice the intrigue.
Sometimes I wish I were a woman.
But you were a woman.
Twice the romance.
I could just kiss you. Oh.
And twice the action.
Don't stare. Look busy.
Plus Third Rock's French Stewart. 2 all-new Just Shoot Me's after Mad About You, NBC Tuesday.
Returning to our story, a small plane crashed high on Alaska's Mount McKinley. Even if the 4 men on board survived the crash, they'd be stranded in a place so cold and so forbidding that even hardened mountain climbers avoided it in winter. How could these men, so ill-prepared, even have hope of survival? Here again is John Larson.
When I came to, I was outside the aircraft, and I was lying in the snow.
You've been unconscious for minutes or hours?
Maybe a couple of hours.
Ed Homer, the bush pilot living out his dream with a new bride and a baby on the way, was awakening to what for him was the worst possible scenario. The plane he was flying, a plane just like this one, had crashed into Mount McKinley, just like this one did. Ed and his passengers were stranded high on quite possibly the coldest mountain on Earth.
We're at almost 11,000 feet in the Alaska range. Conceivably, temperatures could go 40 degrees, 50 degrees below zero, the winds howling.
And even worse, in December, the sun would warm the mountain only 4 or 5 hours. The rest of the day, only darkness. The greatest threat? Temperatures on McKinley can plummet so brutally. Winter Expedition once reported wind chills approaching 200 degrees below zero or dropping off the scale. Here, people have been literally flash frozen.
We were in a very dire situation, a very dangerous situation.
But miraculously, Ed and the 3 men on board had come through the crash alive. Ed had broken a rib and a vertebrae in his back. Mike Clouser suffered only minor injuries.
Had some cuts. Corner broke off a tooth, but no broken bones or anything serious.
But the 2 men in the back of the plane were not so lucky. Pat Scanlon had broken his neck, but would likely live if they could get him to a hospital. Ed's brother-in-law, Dan Hartman, needed help immediately.
He told me that he was having trouble breathing, that he couldn't breathe, he was having trouble breathing.
Dan's lung was punctured.
I had him cradled up in my lap. We talked about how we were, you know, it was going to be all right, that we were going to, you know, we're going to get out of here, Dan.
Did you at some point realize he's not going to make it?
His breathing became labored. The words became less, and just all of a sudden he was gone.
Less than 5 hours after the crash, the mountain had claimed its first victim. His brother-in-law's death left Ed dealing with shock, guilt, almost unbearable pain.
He virtually went to pieces.
And you thought, here are the three of us now, and this guy's got this extra burden.
No, I thought, here's the three of us now. There's no time for emotion. We can deal with that later. You know, survival.
And the chances of that looked grim. Walking to safety was out of the question. They were surrounded by frozen cliffs and crevasses. The nearest town, Talkeetna, was 60 miles away. They'd have to stay at the plane, which was badly damaged. Its windows were shattered, and it was leaking fuel. And even worse, it was perched on a slope, teetering above a 2,000-foot cliff.
What was the danger that you might slip and fall down that cliff?
If you weren't careful, it was very good danger, very high.
And worst of all, they knew there was little defense against the extreme cold that would surely come.
So you had a sense of what you were up against and what you needed to do, namely stay warm.
Yeah, I knew what we needed to do, and I knew what we had to work with.
Inside the wreckage, they found extra supplies like these. Some hard candy, a flashlight, a few cans of Sterno, a small first aid kit, and some sleeping bags. More than enough if they'd crashed almost anywhere else, but they had none of the special high-altitude gear needed for an almost polar expedition. Stoves, fuel, tents. In the Army, Ed had had some cold-weather survival training, but Pat and Mike, the tourists from Indiana, had no reason to have any.
Ever have any interest in doing any mountain climbing?
Not really. I've often thought it'd be nice to be on top of a mountain and look at the view, but as far as taking the dangers and risks to get up there, no, I've never had that desire.
And here you were, halfway up the biggest mountain in North America.
Right.
And on December 15th, one of the shortest days of the year, McKinley would see only 4 hours and 50 minutes of daylight. It was the worst time of any to be stranded here, and the frighteningly long Arctic night had now descended upon the survivors.
Was there any chance that anybody was going to get in there and rescue that night?
I knew that it was not going to happen.
So you faced the prospect of spending a night on Mount McKinley at 10,000 feet.
We weren't going anywhere that evening.
But Ed knew his plane's emergency locator beacon was already sending its distress signal. And in fact, an Air Force C-130 flying high overhead had already picked it up. The Army and National Park Service would soon be talking about a rescue, an attempt that would begin at first light. As the night wore on, Mike guessed the temperature was about 10 degrees below zero, cold, but for the time being, survivable. Nobody slept.
Why stay awake?
To quote Jack London, to sleep is to die.
You really feel it was that imminent?
I didn't know. It was just one of the things I didn't want to take a chance on, you know.
Then, after 18 hours of darkness, came the first rays of dawn and hope. A small plane flew over. Mike signaled with a flashlight, and the plane dipped its wings. They knew they'd been spotted.
It's like, oh my God, we're going to have a chance. We're going to get out of here. They're going to get us out of here.
Now the rescuers knew someone was alive. 2 U.S. Army Chinook helicopters, equipped for rescue missions, roared toward the mountain. It was now a race against time, the fleeting daylight, and the cold. Their rescue plan at least sounded relatively simple. They would land their helicopter at the crash site and rescue the survivors. Or if they couldn't do that, they would hover directly over the downed aircraft and then lower rescuers to the mountain below. But as they approached the scene, they ran into strong winds, downdrafts, and severe turbulence, some of the same conditions that Ed Homer had encountered the day before.
The wind was really howling through, and you could tell that the guy flying the Chinook had his hands full hanging on to that thing in the pass. The guy in the back of the Chinook waved at us.
He was that close? You could see him?
Yeah, I could see him. They were, you know, just a couple hundred feet above.
But he's looking for a place to land.
We're going to make it off the mountain.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
What happened?
They left.
The choppers had squandered too much fuel and too much daylight just getting to the crash site. They'd also failed to bring along emergency survival gear that could have been dropped to the survivors.
What was your reaction?
It's pretty disheartening. I thought we was either going to be rescued or they was going to throw something out.
Now, had they thrown you a stove, you could have had hot water, or a sleeping bag, you could have warmed your feet.
It would have made all the difference in the world. Water alone would have made all the difference in the world.
It was a decision that quickly became disastrous. In less than 3 hours, the mountain storm that had been building came crashing down, ending any hope of another attempt at rescue.
We knew we were going to be on our own for a little while.
You also knew that that mountain can storm in for days.
Yeah. I knew if it turned out to be a 5 or a 6 or a 7 day storm, that the likelihood of our survival was probably quite slight.
Blowing snow and howling winds meant zero visibility. Inside the plane, wrapped in a sleeping bag, Pat Scanlon, his neck broken, was fighting for his life. Yet remarkably, his concern was not for himself, but to encourage the others.
I can remember him saying, you know, they'll get us tomorrow. You know, we'll get out of here tomorrow.
But if they were going to live to see tomorrow, they'd have to survive the rising gale. 60-mile-an-hour winds rocked the plane as it sat above a 2,000-foot cliff, and the men inside began to feel a new kind of terror.
The concern was that the wreckage was going to break loose and take off down the slope with us inside of it.
What's at the bottom of the hill?
Probably the end of our lives if we're inside the wreckage.
And soon, just what they'd feared happened.
All of a sudden, a gust of wind came up, and the wreckage broke loose, and it started sliding down the pass.
You thinking this is the last ride?
Yeah, pretty much.
But they were literally saved by a wing and a prayer. The plane's left wing and tail dug into the snow. The plane ground to a halt. But the slide down the mountain had left Pat with a crushed spinal cord.
Did he say anything?
I remember him telling us it was going to be all right.
He was upbeat even at that point?
He was in a lot of pain, but he was still able to tell us that from his heart.
For 2 hours, he lingered in pain. And then Pat Scanlon, the young man from Indiana who'd hoped to build a new life in Alaska, lost his.
His body was out of strength a long time before his spirit was.
If you had been rescued that day, he would have made it.
He would have lived, yeah.
So now only 2 men remained. Ed and Mike had each lost close friends.
All I'm going to say about those 2 men is that they met their deaths as bravely as any 2 men possibly could have. I'm proud to know them. Their families can be proud.
Now, just 2 men left. A blizzard that was getting worse. The resources of an Army rescue team unable to save them. But what the survivors didn't know is that they are about to get some unexpected help from a ragtag group of friends.
In the middle of winter, Mount McKinley, you know how dangerous it is. Why risk your life? Why go up there?
There was no question of why. Just go.
There was no one else that could do it.
Could a band of friends from the small town of Talkeetna accomplish what the Army seemed unable to do? The answer in a moment.
Here on business, sir?
Yep, all business. With low rates from Dollar right at the airport, you may be tempted to add some leisure time to your next business trip.
In for a grim year, my friends. Yes.
Will you be making your 4 p.m. tea time?
Me? There must be some mistake. Let me talk to him. Dollar makes sense.
Need a new look? Get the new mouse. It doesn't just sand. It also scrubs, removes, and polishes. It's a whole new breed of tool. The mouse, built by Black & Decker.
Why do people believe nothing works better than Alka-Seltzer Plus cold medicine?
It just breaks up my nasal congestion so that I can finally breathe.
It effervesces. It clears my stuffed up head.
It just works. It breaks up my cold. There's nothing else like it.
What they're saying is only Alka-Seltzer Plus has the power of effervescence. It rushes medicine to break up your worst cold symptoms so you feel better fast. Nothing breaks up your cold better than Alka-Seltzer Plus.
It just works.
Now that Bunny has the new advanced battery, it's a whole new ballgame. You have to be prepared for just about anything. Ain't that right, boys?
New Energizer Advanced formula. No battery lasts longer.
I wish I had an elephant. An elephant who'd always play with me. Bye-bye. But wishes are like elephants. They're bigger than can be.
Okay, maybe you can't give her everything her heart desires, but with the humongous purchase power of the Visa Platinum card, maybe you can. And besides, you never know what she'll want next.
Here's my message to you. Include the arts in your education. Write a poem, play the flute, act a part, join the choir, make a movie, learn to tap dance, paint a portrait. That way, you'll learn a lot about something extremely important to you, yourself.
Dateline NBC, winner of the National Association of Black Journalists Award for 3 consecutive years. The year's most honored news magazine, Dateline, will be right back.
On Will and Grace, Jack, a wanted man.
Oh, Peter, Paul, and Mary, I'm going down.
For impersonating a valley girl.
It's so horrible.
A Baldwin brother.
Not Alex?
No.
Not Billy?
No.
Not Stephen?
No.
Danny?
No, it's worse.
Don't let them take me, Will.
The IRS.
I can't go to jail, Will. I'll never pull off the jumpsuit. I have no waist.
Will and Grace, NBC Monday.
Bruce Sussman, only on Northwest News, Channel 8.
To see a bit of what makes Dodge Intrepid fast, let's cut to the quick. It has a sparkling 200 horsepower gem of an aluminum engine, grippy independent suspension, crisp steering, and a highly functional driving space. Intrepid demonstrates a lot of powerful thinking, no matter how you slice it. See the friendly Northwest Dodge dealer near you.
You've never seen power like this before. The Dirt Devil Vision. It's loaded with power you can see. The Vision is lightweight with swivel casters so it turns on a dime. It picks up more dirt than the best-selling Clean Air Upright. And instead of bags, the Vision vacuums dirt into an easy-to-empty container. The Dirt Devil Vision. Nothing escapes the power of a Dirt Devil.
You're watching Dateline, winner of 1998 Emmy Awards for investigative journalism, outstanding breaking news coverage, and outstanding coverage of a continuing news story. Here now is Stone Phillips.
Returning to our story, 2 days after a plane crash on Mount McKinley, 2 men were dead and 2 others holding on. So far, the Army's rescue attempts had failed, but an unlikely band of rescuers was about to make a new attempt. Here again, John Larson.
In the tiny village of Talkeetna, Ed Homer's friends quickly learned of the plane crash and were concerned.
Nice family. His wife was in town, pregnant.
To those who didn't know them, some of Ed's friends looked like a bunch of hippies. But they lived in Talkeetna for a reason. Behind the beards and blue jeans, they were world-class mountaineers who lived for a challenge. And as luck would have it, they were ready to leave for a climb of their own that very week.
All of us have been on that mountain, and so you know what it is. You know exactly what they're dealing with, and you know how urgent it is.
I was into being a mountaineer, and then my pack was already packed. And all I do is just put it on and walk to the helicopter.
You said just get us a ride and we can get there.
Yeah, pretty much.
With the Army's air rescue mission stalled, 6 climbers volunteered to walk in. The Army would ferry them in as far as it could, officially referring to them as the Mountain Maniacs.
Right.
Mountain Maniacs. Fitting name?
I guess so. Yeah.
I mean, realistically, are you guys thinking you're going to find people alive up there?
You can't go out on a rescue for bodies.
No.
It just doesn't work. When you're out there on a rescue, those people are alive until...
Yeah. Until you find out.
Until you find out differently.
Over the next 2 days, an Army chopper made 2 different attempts to ferry the climbers to the mountain. But each time, the pilots turned back in the face of the storm, refusing either to land or even lower the maniacs by rope. Keith Nitre, a close friend of Ed's, feared they'd never reach the survivors.
You don't know what the odds are for these guys. You know, they got hours, maybe days, whatever, but you don't know. And to turn around and not get on it is so frustrating.
Yeah.
And you know people are dying. And to be flying out of the mountains when you want to land, you want to get on there.
On day 3 after the crash, the maniac's patience had run out. They threatened to go to the media unless the pilots put them down on the glacier. It worked. The chopper landed in near zero visibility, but the maniacs were in for a surprise.
We didn't really realize how far we were away. It took us a while to figure out exactly where we were.
In fact, the crash was here on Kahiltna Pass, 12 miles from where the maniacs had been dropped. The rescuers were down here. To reach the wreckage, they'd have to ski and snowshoe up Kahiltna Glacier, through avalanche zones, past blocks of ice the size of apartment buildings, over crevasses thousands of feet deep, all while fighting a blizzard.
You knew that the weather was so bad there was nobody else that was going to fly up there, right?
Right. Yeah.
So as far away as you were the best bet at this point.
Mm-hmm. We didn't know if we would be on the mountain for 3 days or 3 weeks.
And by the time the maniacs hit the ground, the situation at the plane was grim. 2 of the 4 men were dead. Wind chills estimated at 40 below zero, and the plane had filled with snow. The survivors, Ed and Mike, had little hard candy left. But the bigger problem was they needed water.
We're just eating snow to slake the backs of our throats, which are just, you know, they're just raw from the cold, and we're not getting water.
They tried melting snow, but the sterno in their survival pack wouldn't burn. And without water, their bodies were quickly freezing. Fingers and toes turning to ice.
There was no way to warm up your feet.
No.
Or your hands.
No.
And you felt them start to freeze.
Oh, yeah. Didn't take a rocket scientist to figure it out.
Do you think that I could lose these feet?
Oh, yeah. I knew I was going to lose something. I just didn't know what. And I was really concerned about losing my thumbs.
At the same time, nearly 12 miles below, the maniacs were having difficulty moving up the glacier. This is a picture of a rope team in typical climbing weather. But the maniacs faced much worse. Ground blizzard, whiteout.
You don't know if you're going upslope or down because it's just all white. The snow is white, the air is white, the sky is white.
They used compasses to find their way, pulling back-breaking loads while breaking new trails. And even for these seasoned climbers, unseen dangers lurked everywhere.
All of a sudden, the ground gives way, the snow gives way, and in an instant, you're up to your armpits. I knew that, you know, it could be anywhere from 75 to 200 feet of air underneath me.
He'd fallen into a crevasse. A rope had saved his life.
Arthur and I just together pulled and pop, he popped right out.
By nightfall, the maniacs realized they weren't even halfway there. They still had 8 miles to go. And as day 2 of their climb dawned, the storm raged on. The maniacs again headed up glacier.
Now, there are avalanches coming down in the whiteout? You could hear them. You could hear them. We don't see them because we didn't see anything.
It took a full day to move those last 4 miles. And by nightfall, the maniacs knew they were close to the pass, close to the wreckage, so close.
It's pitch black, it's snowing. We know we're within a mile of this plane, and we just don't know where the heck it is. Just couldn't find it.
I mean, you could be 100 yards from it and you wouldn't see it.
Right.
They knew any survivors, if there were any, couldn't hold on much longer. But still, the team was forced to stop. The mountain's gales had won another round.
The weather was terrible. Rattling the tents and blowing snow like crazy, and absolutely no visibility at all.
And if it's that bad where you are, what do you think it's like up on top?
It's worse. It's absolutely worse.
What the maniacs feared was turning out to be true. Just 1,000 feet above them at the crash site, Mike and Ed were succumbing to the cold. They were freezing to death.
I knew where I was at physically. I knew where Mike was at physically. We weren't going to make it another 24 or another 36 hours up there.
Ed's feet were now solid ice. His legs were freezing, the blood retreating to the warmer parts of his body. By that night, the fourth night, both men were too weak to talk. Despite their prayers, death was closing in. They were now lost in their own hallucinations.
I'd see this restaurant a couple 100 feet out in the forest there.
A restaurant?
Yeah. You could smell bacon and eggs, and oh, did they smell good. You know, I wanted so bad to go over there and get it, and I knew if I did, I'd walk off the edge of that cliff.
But in Ed's mind, death had already arrived.
I was ready to comfortably embrace it.
All the things you guys had gone through, all four of you, and the tears and the faith and the struggle, there wasn't going to be anybody to tell the story.
There's many stories that are left in the mountains just like that.
But after the 4-day blizzard, just when the mountain had proven to each man that he was powerless in the face of its power, a sudden, completely unexpected event occurred. The storm stopped.
Somewhere around 6 o'clock in the morning, you know, the sky cleared and we could see stars. First time since the night of the crash we could see any stars.
Their bodies frozen, their friends dead. Where would they find the strength to hang on, to survive, not knowing their rescuers were just over the ridge?
The rescue and the long road back when we return.
Good.
Honey?
Hello.
There are some things you've come to count on. The wines of Ernest and Giulio Gallo.
They come with higher goals. With visions that span continents. Ideas that launch industries. 3,000 of the world's best companies standing side by side, undertaking challenges others only dream of, and succeeding. Who's next? The New York Stock Exchange. The world puts its stock in us.
The luxurious Nissan Maxima has one of the 10 best engines in America. Something which may come in handy, say, if you're ever late for a flight.
Now lease a Maxima GXC for just $299 a month for 39 months with $18.99 initial payment.
It begins Wednesday, 7 Central. Garth Brooks returns to NBC live in every time zone. When one show's over, he turns around and does it again. So you get a special live performance no matter where you live. And with 3 brand new songs, it doesn't get any bigger than this. Garth Brooks, live everywhere. Wednesday at 7 Central, only on NBC.
Now back to our story. The crash survivors had been stranded on Alaska's Mount McKinley for 5 days, fighting hallucinations and wind chills estimated at 50 degrees below zero. They were now making peace with the inevitable. They were going to die. They did not know that the climbers known as the mountain maniacs were closing in on the crash site.
All of a sudden we realized that the rescue was going to take place today.
As the skies cleared for the first time in 4 days, the mountain maniacs quickly packed and headed up towards the crash site, wondering, could anyone have survived?
Next time you need to look good for a meeting, remember, we'll press any suit you bought from the Men's Warehouse for free, which sure beats trying to do it yourself.
The Men's Warehouse.
You're going to like the way you look. I guarantee it.
The Experience, Julie Emery, Paul Lindman, Steve Dunn, in-depth coverage, John Marler, Kathy Marshall, more news-gathering power. See how the Power of Two news team is working for you.
Monday Night Football fans, you could win $25,000 or a new Chrysler Concorde LXI from your Northwest Chrysler Plymouth dealers. Go to any Gold's Gym, Voice Stream Wireless, or Standard TV and Appliance, pick up an official entry blank, and mail it in to Channel 2. Then watch Monday Night Quarterback, listen for your name, and call in. If an opening kickoff from next week's Monday Night Football game is returned for a touchdown, you're going to win the car or the money. Watch every Monday night.
Discover the wonder of Penny Preville.
Beautiful.
Only at Carl Grieve, downtown.